All right.
I'm nervous.
Okay, oh, it's just Pixel. Okay.
Oh.
Hi, Dan. Welcome back.
Hey, figured it out.
How you doing?
Nice.
Good. I'm gonna sound. I'm actually in the middle of my exercise routine on my bike, so if I sound out of breath, that's the only reason.
Okay.
But I was trying to make this time work for everyone.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing is this is the only hour that I really had today. But anyway, I'm glad to be here. How are you guys all doing?
Pretty good. Well,
We're great.
Very good.
How about you?
Yep.
We're doing awesome.
Excellent.
as you can see, though, there's a lot more people here than last time.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
You guys.
I think what we'll do now is we'll have everybody introduce themselves one at a time, like the people you haven't met. Some people you have met up prior, but I think what we'll do is we'll have the people who haven't met you introduce themselves.
Sure, that's great.
All right. Who would like to go first?
I can go first.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, Dan. My name is Cheap Noise. I am a sound designer and musician based in Quebec. And I really support your work and I love what you do.
Oh, thank you. How do you say your name again?
My name is Nathan, but you can call me Cheap Noise. It's kind of my artist name.
Okay, Nathan. Cheap
All right,
Noise. Got it.
Yeah. We have who else would like to go?
You guys know me. I'm Kane. Nice to see you again.
Hi, Kane. I
I'm
recognize
Sam.
you.
Nice to see you again.
Hi, Sam.
Obviously, I'm TGR. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you too.
Obviously, my name is Beyonce. I think you've heard of me before. I'm still known as Ken, if you want to refer to me as that. Anyways, yeah, nice to see you again.
Baki, do you want to go?
Hello, my name is Baki. I've done a little bit of work here and there when it comes to music. I'm an aspiring Foley artist and I like recording sound effects. Oop. Hang on just a minute. I dropped my cigarette.
All right.
Oh, sorry, I just got my eyes done, so I can't hardly see anything right now.
That's fine. Who else?
I suppose I could introduce myself. Online, I go by Dvorak, and that's about it, really.
Okay.
I guess we'll let Robbie go next.
All right. Hi there. My name is Isaac, and I am a host of a podcast where I interview people about creativity and everything. I've actually interviewed a few voice actors since I'm one myself. And it's nice to meet you.
Oh, great. Great to meet you.
Great to meet you too.
I guess next we'll have Pixel.
Okay, God, I'm nervous about this. I've been collecting games for just about 8 years, and I must have, I don't know, over 100 definitely. I love the work you do and all the games you make. I think they're awesome.
Thank you. Have you've been on before, right?
Yeah, we did
just following.
another meeting.
Yeah. No,
He
I
was on
remember you.
another server before.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I guess next, Mike, would you like to go?
Sure. I'm Mike. I'm an actor. I'm in all sorts of cartoons and video games, and I'm apparently voicing this as well. So I'll be in this. Hi.
Hooray for Mike.
Great.
Yeah. All right. Does anybody else want to reintroduce themselves? Bronson?
I'm Bronson. You've known me before. I was on the other chat. I run Galactic Star Studios on my YouTube channel. I've been in a couple of animated movies already, but right now, I think the only role I have right now is playing Dripik in Sam's Oddworld game that's coming out soon. So,
cool.
Nice to meet you, and love the work you do. I particularly love the character bobbits you've made. So,
thank you.
And the parodies. Yep.
Those are always fun to get which voices we use.
Yeah. I think what we're generally going to talk about first, though, is we've made some updates to how the project is named and some other ideas, including some voice ideas, like not just strictly rock voices, but also some like metal voices and this one crazy guy.
Sounds cool. I like I've always said on this project to make it as much your own as possible. It's a great idea.
So right now, I'll just give you a quick rundown of what we've come up with. We've come up with an idea for having more than one instrument, possibly like keyboard and drums, and maybe a bass, and an online competitive concert mode. And we've had an idea for a name change called NJ Rockout, because it turned out the standalone name Rockout was actually taken by a Guitar Hero styled game.
Yeah, no, I remember that game. What does it stand for?
Well, NJ.
Yeah.
Well, NJ, we just gave it the initials of New Jam. We just gave it that to reference what this is recreating.
Yeah, well, that's cool because, like I've been saying, if this is a tribute project in a way, just watching out for you to get, to keep it your own, but sort of have it be clearly a tribute, then I think it'll help with some of, if there's ever an issue.
Right. And that's what we've been trying to do. We've made some recreation ideas. We have some new music ideas.
Some new voice lines as well. We're adding some new voice lines into it.
Hey, I forgot to add, I've also been practicing a lot more hardstyle guitar like Yngwie Malmsteen and Michelangelo, so I can do some brief recordings for you guys later as well.
Nice.
Because I think if we had just the same 5 clips over and over, it'd be kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
I mean, I'm in the conservatory, so if you want me to help you with keyboards, I'm always there to help anyone. So, yeah.
It's interesting because the original New Jam, one of the biggest puzzles of it was to use only 16 riffs total in each game.
Right.
And it was how to design them so they sounded familiar but different, kind of like variations on a song. But
I think
they
you
all
did a good
fit together.
You did a great job with it.
Yeah, I think
so. I mean, you don't need that many riffs, but I think it's cool to think of, what are the you could change the game to then have some things you hadn't heard before. Yeah.
I was just thinking if there's different styles, it'd be cool to follow that same pattern, 16 different riffs. But how many different styles could we do as well with 16 different riffs as well?
Oh, totally. Yeah, like the funk. I actually grew to like more. The rock one was the first thing that we did, and then we wanted to put a second game in there, and it was really fun to do it with that totally different beat.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's.
We're actually missing 5 sounds from the rock version, aren't we, Sam?
Yeah. So when you send us the sounds via Dropbox, 5 of them were missing, which isn't a big deal because before you gave us them, Baki did give us some recreated samples, so those can be easily replaced.
Yeah, I've looked for a lot of that stuff, and I mean, I'm sure it's in there somewhere, but sometimes, of course, it could be how it's named, or for why it's not in that set. Whatever's been missing, I'm not clear. I've as you can imagine, there's lots of different variations and names, and it's hard to figure out which ones I should have. I'm sure someone has a folder with final, but it could have been changed even after it. There might have been 24 sounds, and then someone picked some variations that were a little different, and they're named differently.
It's actually kind of interesting you mentioned that. I found an old, and this is a little off topic, but kind of the same premise. An old, it was a DX7 synthesizer preset bass, and in that preset had the original Taco Bell sound they used back in '87, still used today.
Yeah, there are some old sounds that you'll find in toys like that where they came from some sort of sound bank or something. I'm trying to remember. We had one
like stock sounds.
I think the Bop It Scream actually.
Oh yeah,
yeah, I did.
You found that I used Homer Simpson in my prototype, which obviously I knew we couldn't get, but it was dope. But Bob at Hasbro found it was just like a stock.
I think they use that same scream in Earthworm Jim, don't they?
I actually have a question about that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Can you describe a sound bank?
A sound bank?
Yeah, you said something
kind
like
of
that.
can.
I think, I don't know if there is a specific, answer, except, I mean, like when you find, like we used to have CDs that would have all sorts of sounds on them. I would call that a sound bank, where they were either public domain or when you bought the CDs, it came with rights to use them. So I think what Bob did, he just basically pulled a scream off of one of those.
I have a question for Dan. I don't know if can I go first?
Sure.
Okay. I really like the audio in especially in Bop It games. I wonder, what is your process? What like in Bop It Smash, for example, what was your process while writing these audio loops, if you will, or these songs? Because they're really memorable, and they are extremely great sounding for what they are. And I was just wondering, what's the process behind it? What's the thinking behind it?
To really, one, I'm glad you appreciate it as a musician. It's really very like New Jam in particular. I spent hours taking. I had sort of an idea for what the song might be, but we worked with a guy who we've worked with for years in his studio. One of my partners, Gary, he used to run a sound production studio, and that's kind of how we met 25 years ago. And so he's still connected with people that used to work for him, and they do sound design and sort of got into the toy area of doing sound, and technically just compressing it the right way so that it's it sounds good through a toy. That's one of the things that's different, I think, about a lot of this stuff is it's not just doing it, it's then how to process it. So when you play it through a little speaker, it sounds good.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's kind of the process for the Super Nintendo as well.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And so, whether it's MIDI, I guess I always assumed some of these would be MIDI, but then when technology came along with the chips, this all tracks so far back that it has to do with where games used to use MIDI because there wasn't as much memory, but then as for the price, remember, this is not even priced like a Nintendo, which, when they sell a Nintendo, they're even selling it almost at a loss because they're making money on the software, where when you sell an electronic toy or game, it's got to make a profit based on everything there. So you have a very limited amount of memory. All those things are always the struggle when people say, I have a great idea. It's like, yeah, but can it cost out? Because people will only pay a certain amount for a toy. So the art of kind of using very minimal sounds, like when you say what the process was for Smash or New Jam or anything, it's kind of thinking ahead of time, okay, this is going to have to be super efficient. You can't write a whole song. You have to write things that get reused, especially if we want to use real audio and not MIDI. Then think about how you would approach that. You've got sort of like when you're writing music, you kind of have your main riff, something that maybe takes 4 bars of music, but you kind of, just thinking through how to make that sound. It's interesting, not too distinctive, but not too distinctive, because you want it to be able to be combined in different ways. So that originally a lot of the games had to be very clever. More recently, the chips have gotten bigger, and like the most recent Bop It, like Bop It Maker, which wasn't that great in my opinion for an interface, but and the look of it was just ambitious, to try to figure out a way to really make that work. But there is so much audio in there because we had to record, full sentences of, squeeze to do this, then do that. Like it kind of went away from the idea of cleverly using little bits and pieces that were just like using a bigger chip. What I really find in all of this is that starting with the original Bop It, it is always better when you're forced to use less sounds and be clever. You can kind of tell, the game is more elegant and simple. So it's almost like the parameter of
a bit like
restricting
the brain shift.
you
That one's
makes.
very eloquent.
Yeah, brain shift is very good. So that's anyone who designs those games knows that if you don't use sound efficiently, it probably will somehow feel less snappy, less elegant. So that's, only thinking ahead to you guys. Even if you can add unlimited amounts, sometimes it's better to put a restriction on yourself because it makes it more game-like. Although Guitar Hero, of course, just went the other direction and just completely, used full-on songs. But you can tell it's pretty heavy. It's not the same as a light electronic game. So those are your decisions. But what I'm forced to do it because if I'm not doing it as an app, but you're doing it as an actual toy, you're really limited by the sound. So the process is basically that. It's coming up with themes, working with the musician, getting, listening to the clips, figuring out how to put them together, how to build anticipation, how do they sound when they speed up, how to, what's the right sound for a payoff, what's the right sound for failing, all that stuff. Like any video game, you're just sort of building the story. And I don't know, it's a good question. Well, I don't know if there's a specific process. It's just sort of getting that stuff and then slowly working towards it, and then working with Hasbro, in those games with their designer to kind of make final decisions and get prototypes that worked, and until it's right, and it takes a long time.
Yeah, it does. Doing Sega Genesis music, I mean, you can only use 6 channels and just a small sound bank of drums, and so I think you have to keep it under. I think it was 200 kilobytes for it to be able to be used on a cartridge.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's taught me how to be more diverse with how I take on sound engineering, because I love making Sega Genesis sound effects. It's just something about that nitty gritty YM2612 chipset that I love.
Yeah,
It's
like
just-
the 8-bit sounding.
Yeah.
And it's interesting.
It's a style. Yeah.
It's interesting because I pretty much do the same thing. I have a sampling keyboard actually from 1987, and it has a 5.5 second memory at 6 kilohertz. And so what you did with sort of like the original Bop It, and also I was asking myself this. If you don't want to answer, that's fine too. But I was wondering what made you choose like sample audio versus speech synthesis.
You mean for the music itself, or for the
I mean, for the entire game, like the original Bop It, because LPC or any speech synthesizer takes approximately five times less space than a sample.
I really thought it's a good question. I think it was because at the time, remember, this really was just at the time when chips, you could only get 6 seconds on a chip of audio. And I think those other chips with MIDI, it was just wanting the game to sound, it was just about style, wanting it to sound more like real audio. Because it had voice in it, I think it was less of an option. Like sometimes you can find chips in the toy world that do one or the other, but not both. So you could synthesize the music, but not the voice. You could, but it wouldn't have personality,
Yeah, I apologize, guys. I actually got to get back in here. I was at my eye doctor's appointment, and I'm sure my wife's waiting for me.
Well,
hey,
do you want to? Anyway, this is great stuff. But I want to make sure. Tell me what I can do most to help the current project.
What do you mean?
Like the new jam, the NJ. Sorry, NJ Rockout. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, that's what it's called now. And I've actually sent you some mock-ups.
Yeah, of the logos.
Yeah, I sent you some. I've sent you in a direct message some logo mock-up ideas of how it can look if we want to match the style, if we want to do something completely separate.
Yeah, I saw a couple of those. They're looking good. I'll give you some feedback on that. But what else? What else is it? Tell me a little more. I guess give me your vision of how you guys want to all work together to. What's the result, and what's your best case? I'm just trying to reach forward to your vision of where do you want to be in a year with this, just so I can kind of work backwards and see if there's anything I can do to help.
Well, one thing I can tell you right now, though, is we've launched a fundraiser on GoFundMe, and Sam has more information on that.
Well, actually, my parents wanted me to take it down. They don't want it to have me under my name, but we're looking for a way we can like fundraise the development of the pod for the, because we're finding some like development houses in around the world. I actually found one in California who might be interested in working on this, so we want to like find a good team to help us work on the game.
Yeah, so you need a team. And
Yeah.
how will the game be? Where do you envision the game being purchased or funded or used by people? We're not sure. How will it be iOS or is it web or
Well,
I think
most development houses they use Unity, and they can literally run the game on anything. You could run it on Windows, you could run it on Mac OS, you could run it on iOS and Android. You run it on everything.
Mm-hmm. So you're
like even
you're
on like
picturing
the web or something. Like
no.
just maybe like if it
No, not a web. I think what we think first right now is when the game first releases, when it's all done and good, it's going to be a Windows port, and then later on in development, we'll get more like teams or devices to be able to port it over to other platforms. Best case scenario is we get a Hasbro license, and it could, if it's possible, I don't think it is, a possible console maybe. I don't know. Possible console release.
a console.
So your dream is that
you'll
kind of. The dream is that you're going to kind of get it out there, sort of speculate a bit on hoping that it gets picked up, but that you're sort of doing it as a passion project. I mean, this is what we've talked about before, to kind of get it off the ground, and you're hoping if it's successful, that then maybe you can get a publisher to pick it up. Is that kind of the best way to describe it?
Sort of, yeah. Like the biggest hurdle I think for this project, if it gets well enough, would have to be Hasbro, because as you said, their marketing team's a bit iffy.
Well, I just think the biggest hurdle, that's only if you want it to be related to Hasbro. I think why I keep encouraging you to, believe me, after 30 years of working with them, they're great, but it's very, very difficult, and I wouldn't advise trying until if you have something successful and you've got a lot of users, and it's something even as a free game, which I think is a better way to go on something, is to get it out there and get a community going. Then I think you can't even talk to them till you have something a pretty big user base, because they're just too legal. It's just too much work. And, they've never done anything really like this. The only thing that I think they did many years ago was when Words with Friends came out with a Scrabble, or maybe someone developed a Scrabble version online that was really good and had a lot of people. And so instead of suing them, they basically made a deal with them because they wanted that software. But that was rare. I don't think you should ever. And I really think the better plan for you guys is to go get a community of, make this great game, say that it's a tribute to New Jam if you want, but you can do that without any rights from Hasbro or needing to. You're not using the logo, you're just sort of using it as a project that you are saying is for fans who love this game, and that you're riffing on it and making it better as not as a toy, but as a software based, experience. And hopefully, like I said, I'm willing to help. If once you guys get it going, I can put it on my social media, try to help people know that it's just a passion project for anyone who's a fan. And then you kind of have, this is one model, and then you go until you hopefully get someone interested. But I wouldn't count on it being Hasbro, or I don't even think they'd be the best people to do it, because they don't really do that very well. You'd be more looking at, software publishers than, I believe. Don't you think, or have you guys thought that part through?
That's not, actually, I think that is probably a better solution. We could do that, but I think the fear some of us have, like with the development and all that stuff, is if Hasbro or somebody from Hasbro catches this and then gives it to, and then tells the higher ups, that's something we're a little worried about, because if those sounds are copyrighted. If those sounds are copyrighted, then we might have a problem, unless Hasbro does not own the sound effects.
Well, that's why I said it's, when I gave them to you guys, it's it's a dead, it's a project that we may bring back. That's why, we talk about New Jam a lot with Hasbro when we talk about the next project and things. And, in terms of a toy, we've talked about redoing it many times or doing Boppets with music and things like that. So that's, I think the fact that you're just doing something in software, you're not doing a physical device, is not threatening to them, and that I wouldn't worry about it, because if you really got to a level where someone noticed, that would be the same point technically that they might be interested in working with you. So you kind of hope that at some point, like you get, because you're not hurting anything, is what I'm saying. You're not hurting their business by developing something that's a tribute to one of their games. I don't think they've ever shut anything like that down, unless someone's making, millions of dollars, then they might come in, but that's kind of what you might want, but I don't, so it is a risk. I just say you're right. If you made your own sounds or you could recreate those sounds and then have zero risk. And you use a different name, different logo. So that's up to you guys. That's why I kind of supplied those sounds so that it'd be helpful in your development. But if you wanted to kind of think of something eventually to recreate those, then you wouldn't have that risk at all. From what I understand, and I really can't imagine that they would ever, do something like that. But I'm not a lawyer, so. But I really don't think you should worry about that.
That's not a bad thought, actually. Now that I think about it,
Here we go. I'm back.
That's fine. What we plan to do, though, we've talked with Baki. We plan to. So the pre-existing music, we want to use those. The pre-existing samples, but we're gonna add to them. Like there's gonna be some extra licks in there, like the background music, the starting music, some of the riffs are gonna have some different more strum added to them, if I'm saying that right. I'm not much of a musician.
And what's the interface gonna be via your phone or PC or whatever? How are you going to actually play it?
Well, I think that what we had planned is to have it sort of like, maybe the first version is just a standard setup, like buttons to select, click on, how to play, different game modes, start game. You would press the space on the computer version. You would press the space bar to strum. We haven't figured everything out yet. We're getting there though. We're constructing blueprints. I'm making some designs. I actually in the works. I haven't started yet, but I am making a design of what the guitar will look like, and also probably a keyboard, because I think that a keyboard would probably be a good audition, because this isn't just a guitar; it's a lot more than that, which I think pushes us further away from Hasbro.
But you want to eventually make a physical toy. You actually want to mold a product. You'll never. That's why I'm confused when you say that about the interface.
No, like it's always going to be when I say design, what I mean is a 3D render. I don't mean an actual sculpt of a model.
I see.
Yeah. We're not going that route.
Yeah. Well, no. I mean, I think obviously that's my whole realm. It's just I know what the cost and effort is tremendous to do that.
But this is a video game, and it stays as a video game.
But I mean, just again, it is a possible outcome. Is that if this was really great, and it's a smart way to do it, get this game really good, simulate it the way you're doing, and you never know if it's totally original, really great. Maybe someday there is a toy that connects to it. That you either do or someone else does, and you collaborate with.
Someone actually suggested that to me about having a physical guitar that you connect to the software.
Yeah, if you can figure out a real guitar that connects in, that's of course then people have them, so you're not creating a custom toy. But I don't know. I don't want to get you in trouble. Like, brainstorming about things that are too difficult. But I love, of course, physical things that connect to electronic things.
I think even
So-
if we did make an actual mold or an actual thing, I don't think it would actually be any useful, because because of what's happening right now with the economy and all in the U.S. The current U.S. trade things, I don't think that we can get our hands on those types of chips, and even if we did, nobody, I think, would really buy them.
No, it's very difficult. So that's
I think that's why we're pushing away from
Yeah.
the idea of actually having a physical electronic game, though. I think that the video game approach is probably going to be the permanent one, and I think that's just how we're going to go for it.
Or that it could work on a console eventually, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think like that would be the farthest we would go, or maybe a virtual reality game like for the Oculus Quest.
Mm-hmm.
Which we actually had an idea for, as I mentioned actually in our last interview, which I actually had an idea for a virtual reality version of Groove It, which Sam and a bunch of other users here actually liked.
Yeah.
I'm sure Groove It would be awesome in any form. Groove It's one of it's in my top 10 favorites.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's amazing how it didn't do that well because the sensors were too light sensitive in daylight. So we think that hurt it a little bit.
May I ask if you can tell the story about that product?
Sure. I mean, it's actually, it came out of a Bop It brainstorm. I would do it once a year. Or now it's every few years, was doing a Bop It summit with Hasbro, kind of like what's next. And, you could see there was a lot of variations, but not that many from the original. Like they're very conservative about that, even though we can all think of, and I have, thousands of variations that will never get made. That idea of it came out of a dinner I was having with them where we were sort of talking about it, and one of the engineers, Eric is his name, was talking about because I was talking about, is there some way to do it hands-free? And he said, he was mentioning how it was possible, and there'd been some other toys that had done that. And I think, like eventually, whatchamacallit came out, the one from Mattel.
Loops. Before
Right.
that, there was a game called Sega Pods.
Yeah, there were pods, but that was almost exactly around the same time, I think, as I recall.
It was 1994, like 10 years
Pods.
before.
Pods. That's right. But as a toy, I don't think there had been a toy that had that feature, meaning using that technology versus using, because Pods was a, no, actually that was, I'm getting confused with the other product.
It was a game. It had 3.
It was a game, but it was pretty expensive, right?
Mm-hmm. It also didn't sell well because the sensors were...
Same issue. Yeah, no, that's right. No, I loved that. So, there had been games like that. So we knew it was possible. The question is always was, can you do it for a chip that's cheap enough? Or are there sensors that are cheap enough? So it would just sort of evolved out of that. And then the idea of how to work on a Bop It that was, use gestures and hands. And that shape, I think I've posted a few of the variations that we tried. The idea that you'd hold, rather than it sitting on a table, the Bop It DNA was thing that you would hold in your hand that you could move around with, not to just do a thing that sat on the table. And so that idea of, as you kind of think through more of a DJ thing where you're trying to figure out with only 4 sensors, what are the number of moves you could record that would be accurate? And so all the ideas like showing some light traces to show you the move, because a lot of this, you realize how simple Bop It is. It just tells you what to do. And because the knobs are shaped like the action, you know what to do. Like that seems simple now, but that was really the biggest breakthrough was the twist it looks like a twist it, the pull it looks like pull it, etc. So when you hear a command, you know what to do, or you can feel it if you can't see, as I know has been one of the biggest things that I didn't even think about at the time. So that was, thinking more about a game that used lights to tell you what to do is sort of the other idea that came through Groove It, which was if the lights flicker this way or that way, they're showing you what to do with your hands, right? So that it could be used in a loud environment where you couldn't hear the commands as well. So that was all really went into the thinking. And after kind of working on prototypes that said, wow, this really works. It does know that your hand went from here to here, from here to here, from up to down to side, etc. Then we had fun working on, what kind of game to create around that. And that voice is basically Adam, who is the guy that does our sound production. That he is the musician that works on all the sounds for us, and he does a lot of voice as well. So that's Adam's voice, Adam Rossi, and so we worked on just all the different things you could do, and tried to create it as if he was, more of a DJ.
He's the master
combining,
DJ in the club.
Yeah, less like, much more musical, obviously, and just creating a game around that. And, one of the issues is you can't, it's really tricky, as you know, with games to get the exact right speed challenge, so it's not too hard, too easy. All those things are very hard, especially when you're dealing with sensors that you don't know in a final production whether they'll act quite the same as in a prototype. So the biggest challenges on that, we're trying to make sure that you create a game, and then all it takes, like Smash, the problem with Smash is that it was faster than we intended. So it's much harder. It gets hard too fast. And that was based on a miscommunication with the game designer at Hasbro, which I to this day still upset about, because I think it's Will,
And one thing to note is when the Boppet Tetris came out, I found a lot of faults in that game, actually.
Yeah, that game is so. For the most part, I'm very happy with Tetris because I think we controlled most of that. But it was quite ambitious, and definitely that's a game I'm trying to bring back differently because I think it was such great gameplay. But just to finish up on Groove It, anyway, that's sort of the story of Groove It. It came out. Hasbro did not promote it a lot. They didn't get as much excitement on it right off. If they don't get excitement immediately, then people sort of don't it kills the promotion, and then that it's sort of like an algorithm. It means you can't really succeed with it on a big scale. So as much as people like it, and it was designed to sit on a table as well. But the story that comes around full circle is 10 years later or whatever it was, when we had done Simon Swipe, which was how to make Simon more interactive and more interesting. So Simon Swipe was there. They were like, what do we do to follow that up? And I kind of pulled Groove It out. I said, well, what if we put Simon colors on this? And what if we did this and that? And literally that was an instant, yes, let's do it. So as much as Groove It didn't quite succeed, the form factor of the circle, all that stuff sort of led to a very successful Simon Air. So it just shows, stick with something, stick with a concept, and hope something good happens.
I've been on in a while now. Oh. But with my mic muted.
I have a question for another question for Dan. Actually, I have two questions, if it's okay with you guys. Oops, I think I lost you guys.
No, you're still here.
Nope,
You're here.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, we were talking about audio and processing so that you can fit as much audio as possible. And I was wondering, CPU power, like I imagine it would be kind of really CPU intensive. Like the Boppet Extreme 2 doesn't go as fast as the other Boppets, but it has a lot more samples to manage. Is it something that you're trying to that you take in consideration when you're making a game where, okay, I'm gonna sacrifice some speed to get more groove out of it, and like sacrifice some CPU power to have like a beat that makes more sense if it makes sense.
Well, that's interesting. I think in Boppet Extreme 2, the main focus was making much more interesting music and having the music sort of build more momentum. And like as you go through, we had a bigger chip so we could put in sounds that evolved, and it would give you little payoff breaks in between. You'd hear the beat change, so kind of like a video game with levels where you knew you were on levels, you had gone further, because like in a video game, the background colors change even though the play might be similar, things like that. So it was the vision of how to make something have sort of identifiable differences in the sound design, and to create variations, so that because we knew it was going to go higher than a bop it, so we wanted to not make it boring as you progress through it. But the speed of it is solely because in testing, if you go too fast, people can't actually, the average person can't play it as fast as the bop it with three things. They fail too often. So, whether we got it right or not, that's not insane. I don't think the speed had anything to do with the processing power. I believe it was simply game design, and that it was just trying to make sure that enough people could, beat it to make it mass market. And maybe, in my opinion, often we didn't get fast enough to make a super user challenged. But what do you guys think? Yeah.
Coming up from that is the Bop It original remake in 2002 about how normal people wouldn't be able to keep up with the one with 3 commands. That one goes. I think it's one of the fastest Bop Its. I actually haven't beaten that one myself.
The one that was sort of size reduced.
Yeah, the one with
the
the
2002 redesign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It goes. You think it goes faster?
It goes a bit too fast.
Really? To beat it? You know what? I haven't tried that in a while. I have one here. I will have to see what I that's good, because I always thought they didn't go fast enough at the end. But that also, there was a misunderstanding with one of those where it went to 200 instead of 100. But it went to 200, but they didn't change. This was without telling us. They didn't change the pace between 100 and 200. So once you hit the speed at 100, it just stayed the same speed, and it was really monotonous, so it kind of showed us that it's fine when people say, why don't you go higher? Often with the score, it's not a very enjoyable audio experience when you go too fast. And if you stay the same speed for too long, people get bored. So there's a lot of thought into why hitting the exact right speed, so that, once in a while, most people can beat a bop it, I think was exciting for them, because most people don't. They just don't play it long enough. And when they do, they're like, I didn't know you could beat it, and it's really exciting. So it actually was really fortunate that we hit that timing almost exactly right for the mass market, not for gamers like you guys. But
I think the download is the one that I, again, haven't beaten because it never changes speeds.
Right.
The last level takes like an hour to beat.
And I have another question, actually. It's the last one for today. I don't want to bother you too much, but it's I wondered, actually, I did recreation of the Bop It Smash music, and I realized that in the test mode, or in the test thing, where you can test the sounds, if it makes sense, some certain levels have music that are lower in pitch than the actual game. Like level 2 is 3 semitones lower. Level 9, I think, is 2 semitones lower. Stuff like that. So I wonder, didn't you just record the sound? Is it to get the same quality, or was it?
Yeah, it's a combination of quality. Sometimes it gets processed. There's not enough memory, so you have to make a lower quality sample to fit, because it takes less memory to go down lower. You'd like to get as high quality as possible on everything, but then you really thin it out, to kind of use less bandwidth in the chip, but then more memory. But the other thing is, sometimes you're hearing sounds that were reused, but when they're faster, they're pitched. They're pitched electronically. They're not the actual pitch that the sound was recorded at. So there's a mix of that in that game. So it's possible in the demo mode, right? It uses a sound from one. I can't remember, but I know that that's a lot of what you're hearing is this difference between a, audio that was recorded at a pitch, then pitched up or down, versus then having to be processed slower or faster, then having to be processed less memory, more memory. So when you think of all those little tweaks that are happening to fit on a chip, you'll often hear little things like that. And that's why a lot of the Boppets are different, because the chips used in these, toys are so cheap, they don't have a crystal in them, and you need a crystal to guarantee that the sounds are the exact, or that the speed is exactly the same.
Oh, so that's why they're lower and higher pitched Boppets. It's because there's no crystal.
Cheap noise, calm down.
So,
sorry.
So if you noted, I don't know, on Simon Optics, the one we did where you wear over your like the visor, that they sync up.
Yep.
And I believe we had to use a crystal in those, and that actually unfortunately made it cost more, and that might have impacted its sales as well by just being everything you think, oh, we can afford it, people pay for it, but they don't. And then the whole toy gets killed, because even though the experience is better, the mass market will only pay $20 for a game, and they've only paid $20 for 25 years. It's been a long time, and we keep waiting, like, when does that creep up to $30? Because that would change the entire toy industry, is if the consumer market and Walmart and all the places that sell it would sort of make the new $20 25 or 30, because it can't go on like this. The inflation is so much higher for everything but toys, but everyone expects a toy to be the same price it was 20 years ago. So that's really, when people give all these suggestions, you're like, you have no idea how hard it is every year to try to get a game that can actually be sold at a profit for the toy companies. So it's quite an art, and it's very challenging. And that's a lot of the art of mixing all those sounds and which chip. And, if you think about it, that's, probably the biggest challenge in the electronic area of the toy industry.
Well, I think you do that really well. And I think the fact that, and I'm sorry, TGR, if I got too excited there, it was like a revelation.
Excitement is good.
But I think you do that really well. And I think that the fact that most Boppet are low and high pitch give like this analog feeling to them, like cassette tapes or some sort.
Right, exactly.
Or analog synthesizers, where one unit will never sound as like perfectly as the others. And I think that is one of the greatest quality. One of the greatest quality about this.
No, it's interesting. I didn't really think about it till you mentioned that, but that is, you're right. It's sometimes I'll pick one up and go, whoa, this one's a slow one or a fast one. So
it's a strange thing. It's just how these things are manufactured, I guess.
I know that Boppet Tetris, that every single one of them are at the same pitch and download.
Are they?
Yeah.
Well, that might be. I can't remember. It could have been. See, Tetris was a little more expensive. Sometimes, the final chip used is the manufacturer, and maybe they just had a better batch, or better quality. So some of that's completely out of our control, but we kind of ask the question to hopefully get it right.
I think most modern games are the same pitch just because maybe technology's improved, and maybe, I don't know, because quality control, I don't know, because every break the board I've seen is normal, like the same pitch, every cross signals I've seen.
I think it's because of how they're being manufactured better.
It might be. I mean, break the board, we used a, very similar
Break the board's
to
awesome.
Boppet. You like it?
Break the board's awesome. Yeah, it's great.
Goes back to that joke we made of the Disney Channel.
The Disney Channel.
I would love to see more videos of people playing it. Actually, if you guys, we don't have like.
I need to get a new one. My one broke. I played it too much.
Where did it break?
The one of the sensors on the top. I played mine too much when I got it, and it broke.
I'm curious.
Probably wore out.
Yeah.
Wow. It might have. Yeah. No. I mean, it's asking a lot. Again, when you think about the price to create a thing that's meant that you tell people hit this and it's going to hit the floor and fall, it's a lot of impact for something. It's probably pretty ambitious. But that was a game shown to Hasbro 3 years earlier. I really said to them, this is the next, this is the speed game we've been looking for. And they just really didn't see it. And then Yulu, which is a great little company, totally believed in it, and I couldn't believe they did it. So we worked a lot on that. Gary in my office did all the code, and that was a cool one. But yeah, I'd love to see more video of people playing it or setting high scores and things like that, because we really don't have much of that.
Yeah. Now, Dan, I'd like to ask, on the topic of other companies outside of Hasbro, I'd like to ask him a few things about Bop It for Good and some other things. First off,
sure.
What's going on with you and Super Impulse? What's going on with the world's smallest Bop It?
Well, I happen to have 50 of them. I actually donated 50 to a group called Amuse for. What's that?
Can we see a picture later?
Sure. Yeah. You can actually see it in one of my Instagram or social media when I do I have a post where I just posted maybe last week on Giving Tuesday. So it would have been, was that this Tuesday? Yeah, just Tuesday. It was that I was donating basically I was giving anyone who wanted one for that 2 days. Anyone who was blind, I was going to give one of the world's smallest Bop Its to. And so I sent out quite a few of them to people that contacted me, but I did show it in that video. It's got a little stand, which is, if you can't see it in the video, but it says 25th anniversary on the little silver stand, and Bop It fits on it and kind of has a little notch, so it sits on a shelf. It looks really cool.
Oh, nice.
It's very cool. I've wanted to do a stand for a long time.
Does it work like the original? Does it work like the original keychain?
No. So it's kind of, in a way, it's in tribute to the 25 years of Bop It. So it looks identical to the original, and it's actually smaller than the one that came out 20 years ago. There was a keychain version. It's the same.
I have that.
But Super Impulse is the same owner. The guy who I worked with 20 years ago, he has his new, that was Basic Fun. This is a company, Super Impulse is his new company, and he does all those world's smallest toys. A great guy.
Oh, wow.
And, so he agreed to do this, and we got rights to do it from Hasbro. And
Pixel Payton joined.
Oh, nice.
Should I let him in?
Yeah, let him in.
Sure.
Dan, somebody else is joining by the name of Payton McDonald.
I know.
He's been in the community for longer than all of us.
I know. Welcome, Payton.
He's joining now. Okay.
Okay. You there, Payton?
He's okay. Sorry I distracted you.
That's all right.
How about
so World's Smallest, just to finish up, I will be making them right now. I literally paid to airship them from China because of all the shipping issues. So I only have a limited amount, but I promised, I basically imported 100. I promised 50 of them to this group called Amuse for Autism, which
that's awesome.
Yeah, because as some of you know, I know Bop It has been very, in the blind community and autism. A lot of families with autism. It's been a great game. So I'm trying to really focus Bop It for Good on those two communities and giving donations to them in terms of Bop Its and eventually raising money for those foundations. But so this Amuse for Autism is in Los Angeles. They do events where they get a community of autistic kids together with other kids, but just basically events. But the idea of having these Bop Its that are all, they have like play tables and things to do together, because it's the idea that what I really am supporting is whether you're blind or autistic, that you should be able to play the same game as someone else who isn't and play together.
Definitely.
Because that changes everything about friendships, and so I'm really resonating with me, and so Bop It for Good is at first I was trying to support creativity programs in underserved communities, but I think that's a little too vague. It's like I was working with the Boys and Girls Club, and I might still do that, but I really like going straight at the heart of the simplest thing, which is try to get kids to play together, because I think making lifelong friends is probably the biggest incredible thing that I've heard so many stories about Bop It. I can't believe that. It makes me feel like that's the most important thing. So
it's a huge amount of things, oddly, and recently I turned it into an art style.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Yeah. Again,
If
like
I
I've
was-
shown you all those designs I make. Everybody, I
Yeah.
made it into an art style. Now Kane's trying to copy me.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
Good
I've tried using.
I've been copied more than any of you, and you just got to keep letting it happen.
Yes, we know. We've seen all of the movie boppets. The Spider-Man just came out recently.
If
Oh,
I
yeah,
was in,
no,
if I lived in California, I would join that Amuse for Autism thing because I
So would
follow
I.
Instagram. It sounds interesting.
Well, it might get bigger, and there might be things you can do remotely for them. I mean, with using your graphic skills or whatever you want to do. I'm just starting to work with them. Really, it's a woman who has an autistic child who started it, and they've gotten some celebrities involved, and that's why I got involved, because this guy called the Magic Crasher. He's a
Magic Crasher.
Look up Magic Crasher on TikTok. He does a lot of, or Instagram. He's an interesting guy that was introduced to me, and we were talking about how to do something together. And then the conversation led to him talking about this. He's trying to help out this group in LA. So I'm sort of working with him on getting them these. And so we're going to be doing something soon to show that happening. But that's, anyway, World's Smallest Bop. But what's cool about them is eventually these literally cost way more to airship them than, a Bop It. For each one of them is sort of, but I really want to do something before the holidays with it. But eventually the shipping will catch up, and there'll be a lot of those available in stores. But they aren't going to, it'll depend on, I'll let you know when they're actually available, and I'll try to I'm going to try to make them available on Bop It for Good.
Would
I
they?
won't take a profit. It'll just go, I'll get them, and then whatever they sell for, I'm going to donate that to these foundations.
Nice.
I was going to ask about Bobbit for Good. Would anything ship outside the US? Because I know there are a few of us who don't live in the US. Still really want to get the stuff.
That's the problem. I have to you can. It's just done through Shopify, and the problem is it will charge you. We tried to make it. We're actually helping to pay for some of the shipping because we didn't want it to be too expensive on some of these. But honestly, it's really expensive. So I can't include shipping when I'm trying to do these giveaways sometimes, because it costs $30, and it's like it defeats the whole purpose of me trying to give money to good causes when you're paying more for the shipping than the donation. So I don't know how to solve that. One idea is to send a bunch to someone in England, for instance, and say, here, when someone wants them, you can send it to them, so that it's only costs, if there's something like that at some point, and someone wants to be the point person in England to send them, that would save money, and it might be a way to do it. I'm not talking thousands. It's just sort of when I do like the Bop It card game, the problem is, again, it costs a lot to send it overseas. And that's, I don't mind and I just don't like people having to pay extra if we're really trying to raise money.
Yeah.
Then that's the whole point. So that's really the issue. Is it's just Shopify figures out what it should cost, and then they charge people for the shipping.
I actually made a quick design for the card game. I made a little fan design, and on the bottom it advertises Bop It for Good. So I've got some people who look on Bop It for Good. In fact, actually, I'm going to send it to you right now.
No, Nathan, did you order one? Someone ordered.
I think I'm the only one in the group here right now that's ordered one.
I'm not able to buy any more Bop It things for a while, unfortunately. I can only have what I have right now, but that's not stopping me from doing the artwork, which, on the topic of Bop It for Good, I actually gave this idea to Kane that he said I should give to you of like a Bop It talking wall clock.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that idea.
Be awesome.
In fact, actually, I'm going to make a design of it soon as like a mock-up, because that's what I like to do. I like to do these things.
No, you could do it. I think as I've tried to say, I always encourage riffing on Bop It ideas. I'd never like to say, yeah, we've thought of that, because I don't want it to sound like
the NFT.
But what's that? I can't imagine there's a product or idea about how to expand Bop It that I do major brainstormings with a group of very talented people, quite often, and we have a wall of probably 10 by 10 sticky notes of, it's at least 100 future Bop It ideas,
Wow.
license, this and that. It's not that hard. I don't mean to put it down, but it's not that it's hard to come up with ideas for Bop It. It's an extremely flexible, like wall clocks and clock radios and, anything, light switches. And, so it is dog bones and like literally you can do almost anything with it. So it's more about which one to do and whether it will sell enough and whether it's profitable. So the problem with product development is a lot of people come up with ideas, but the real issue is you only have limited, resources, time. It's like how to make sure to come out with the one that that it doesn't cost you more to make than the amount you're going to sell. And that's what I think is deceptive. Is it doesn't mean that there are a lot of good ideas. It's whether or not they can sell enough to pay for their manufacturing. And as much as people fall in love with their own ideas, but it doesn't mean that there's 100,000 other people out there that'll buy the same thing, and that limits the amount of. Does that make sense? It's like why I'll sort of listen to people's ideas and go, yeah, I'm sure it's a great idea, but you kind of have to then do analysis on, can you make it cheap enough to sell enough to make money? And that's really that's why I'm focusing on the Unibop, the little, because I'm trying to make something that's cheap enough to make, that's universal enough that we can actually sell it and make a profit to donate. Speaking of which, I would, so any Bop It ideas are welcome. Even if I've already thought of it, it helps me understand what's top of mind for other people. And I maybe someday we'll get to it. And all I can say is if you have a Bop It idea, even if I've thought of it, if I ever make it, I will send one to you just for you encouraging me.
How would you send ideas? Because I know you have Discord. You haven't been too active on there recently.
Yeah,
I don't have any.
Which we respect.
Yeah, of course. You have your own.
I part of it was I was just taking a break because I.
Yeah, I understand.
It's endless.
Yeah, we respect anything you have to do, Dan.
Of course, and I actually did. I paint watercolor and do things that are. Sometimes I have to detach, and it was a combination of some family issues with we'll take care of my dad and things like that. But it was also just at some point I just wanted to. So I was going to share, when I do journals of my trips. If you go to illustratedtravels.com, that's where I show a lot of my illustrations and family. My wife puts it together, and that shows my journals that I do when I travel. And they're, I really like sort of telling the story of my trips, and there's nothing about Bop It at all on it. It's just me and I'll sketch when I'm at a conference and something. So I sort of have that. Sometimes I need to detach and just do that, and keeps me creatively fresh. And but I'd say that so all that stuff. If you on the Unibop, I keep, part of the problem is we couldn't do it this year because there weren't the chips we needed at the right price. So we kind of had to push that off. That's why I did the card game, because that's something that doesn't use electronics except for your phone. And, that's the rules on that are evolving and changing. I think it's a great family party game. I know Kane played it with his family and his mom beat him. So that's a good sign.
Also, other guys in here, surprise! I've been trying to keep that a secret from you guys.
I honestly wouldn't.
So,
wouldn't have mocked you on it.
Okay.
That's your mom.
I'm not that person. I'm not that kind of person.
Yeah.
That's okay.
That's fine.
Yeah.
It's too bad you can't play it together online.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll figure that
I
out.
know.
It needs
I've
to really be.
always wanted to test out the software for the Bop It card game because I know it exists, but I legit can't find it anymore.
Where can you find it?
I was going to share it with them, Mr. K, but I know you. I had to promise you that I wouldn't share it because you sent that email.
So it's just sort of a temporary. If someone buys the game, I give them the code, the link. I was trying not to have it be put out there. Not that I care that people are going to do anything with it, except that the sounds that are in it are using actual sounds from Buddy.
Yeah, right.
And I agreed with him. I don't know the way that little link is built. I just don't want anyone to go into the source of it and start using those sounds for other than just playing the game. So
Yeah,
you
it
know,
depends
just
how it
they're
was
not.
made.
You guys want to tap in my stream? I'm actually doing some artwork right now.
Oh,
So
let me join.
go. You know, I can share that on this server. I'll give
Okay.
you the. I just want to make sure it's protected so that if it
Yeah.
gets out there, that it's not releasing source audio.
I don't think anyone here would do that.
Yeah.
No,
No,
of
it's
course.
not. It's just, but it's not. It's just once it's out there, it doesn't matter if you intend or not. It's my responsibility to make sure
Yeah.
it's really just a prototype little app right now, and got lots of changes to be made. So, but you're welcome. I love. You know, as you know, I'm trying to get people to try it. I think it's an amazing, like, family, friends game. It plays, you know, really fast, as you can see, and the trying to simplify it. And I think it's really, after many years of working on a Bop It card game, you know, there's so many versions we've tried, but it's really fun because you get to scream and yell and you become the voice, and it's getting there. So anyone, you know, in fact, I think at this point, if someone really thinks they can put a game test together, could use a few more beta testers. If you're somewhere else and you want to pay for shipping, or if you, like I just did the 2-for-1 thing, just trying to get more people to buy it. But as I've said before, if you do a video game test, I will gladly give anyone a coupon for more stuff at my store, Bop It gear. So if there's anyone there who has a group that they can do game testing with that Bop It card game, let me know if you're interested, and I will figure out a way to get you one without it, as long as it's not you guys in other countries. I know it just seems a little pricey to do the prototype and then send it, but
Can you see my stream?
Anyway, so the Unibop, the biggest thing on Unibop is when you see it is literally, we just found that we can make it go to 1 million. So the idea
where is that?
Where is it? It's just, if you look, I've been sort of showing glimpses of it on my feed, but on my Instagram or TikTok. But it's something we had hoped to come out by this year, but we're said it's coming out next year. Super Impulse may help with it to get it out there. But the idea is that it lets you go. One, it keeps track of how many times you do it consecutively, and it also, when you hold down the button, it tells you lifetime. So it doesn't mean you could do 1 million in a row, although if anyone wants to take a guess, how long do you think it would take you without sleeping to get to 1 million playing the Unibot, basically just hitting the Bop It button?
I'd straight up do it for 24 hours when it first comes out.
No, actually, I think a better question is how many.
Mine.
I think a better question is how many times you can hit it before it breaks.
Oh yeah, exactly.
That is
something. You try and beat that game.
You don't need to. I'm drawing it.
It is a good question. We don't know. So all I can say is, you know, we'll have to figure that out. But
let's not stress test it.
Let's speed run. Let's do Unibop speed run. Who can get to 1 million first?
That's a whole nother. But the idea is that you have to actually wait for it to. You have to wait till it finishes saying the word Bop It before you can hit it again. So you can't just sit there and
but if you mess up,
it starts the beginning. But it keeps track of your total lifetime bops. So if you fail and fail and fail, but over 3 weeks, you can hold it down and it will say master score 300,226, right? So it'll keep.
Is it like the Bop It bounce where it will keep the what's it? It keeps the total.
It keeps the total of lifetime total.
Mm-hmm. But you'd have to get to 1 million in one go.
But it will do either or both. But to get to 1 million, to do the math, you'll get about 100,000 per 24 hours.
Oh.
That's how long it would take to get 100,000 in 24 hours if you're really
without sleeping.
Good. Yeah. So the fact is, there's no way anyone could ever get 1 million unless they trade off with other people. So it's probably more the lifetime total. But I figured, this way there can be a high score that probably can always be beat. for someone hitting it consecutively. So that's just something I figured would be fun to do. There is a don't bop it command in it. So that you can't just set up a machine to do it.
Just to mix things up.
You can't just design a little robot that will keep bopping it. So
I wouldn't
unless
do
it has
that.
voice recognition and knows when it says don't bop it, not to bop it, etc. So
I imagine. Sorry, I was gonna say I imagine it could get long because I had found a thing called the Master a Million Ball, and you'd have to bounce it over and over. It took me probably 3 weeks just to get to 2,500. So I imagine it'll probably take a while.
Oh, Dan, I would really like for you to hear. I don't know if it's okay with TGR, but I made a few recreations.
I don't care. I'm doing my own thing.
Okay, I did a few recreations of some of the Bop It Smash music, and
okay.
Maybe you would like to hear it.
Sure.
Okay, this is the level 1 song, and it's made on the Yamaha PSRE 463, which is a home keyboard that costs about $300. Just to set the standards. Oops, the volume is not that loud. So that's the level 1.
That's good. That's pretty good.
That's level 3. But my favorite is level 4. It's the last one actually that I'm gonna list because I don't want to get this thing over and over. So this is level 4, but I worked on it a little bit.
Cool.
Sounds a bit like Billy there.
Yeah.
Sounds
I like
sounds
that
so
one.
good in the higher quality. It sounds so much better. That's really good. And you know what else? It's really good to ride your exercise bike too.
Yeah.
I ended up listening to one of his
music.
one of his remixes on a stair climber.
Have you been biking this whole time, Mr. K?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man.
Hey, I'm old. I have to keep in shape, you know?
That's fine. If you look on my stream, I just made a small mock-up of like a wall clock.
Watch stream.
I think the hardest.
You click watch stream.
I love it.
That's just a small mock-up, and at the bottom I typed in the words of the same. I took this from my card game idea. It says, "Visit bopitforgood.com for more Boptastic products and merchandise."
You know what's really interesting about a wall clock is I believe there's places that will just put any graphics you want on a wall clock. So unlike things that require tooling and things, you could probably just just make one.
I'll give you this, by the way. I'm gonna export it in a minute.
Sure, but I mean, I think in terms of what is the making stuff like that, it's possible. I mean, I'll tell you what, give it to me. I'm going to post it on the Bop It for Good store. I'll sort of show a picture of it, and I'll just say to people, if you want this item, I'll give you a credit.
You have just made my day, Dan. Absolutely. I'm going to give you this in a minute. Do you want now? One question I have is: do you want the Bop It for look? I was going to put the Bop It for Good logo below the big one, and then I would ask if you wanted that there. If you don't want it there at all.
I don't really want to put Bop It for Good on the products. I've decided it's more just for the packaging, or maybe on the back, like a back of a hat. But if you give it to me, like when I credit, like Kane sending a picture.
I've made a few things. It never worked on the. Oh no, that's not good. I think what I'll do now is
send me art. Part of it's just my bandwidth for getting this, maintaining the site. It's a lot of work. So
you want me to get rid of where it says "Bop It for Good" then? Like at the bottom.
Oh no, that's okay.
Still have that text.
It's your artwork. You do. My point is, I'll just post it as fan artwork and ask people, would anyone be interested in this if we made it? And then the fact is, only because that product. Unlike kind of like the way we do T-shirts and things, I don't have to make the shirts. I just work with a company that puts your logo on a shirt, there's probably a company out there that makes clocks
Yeah,
that
nice.
will put your logo on it.
And my stuff is yours. You can use anything of mine. I really don't care.
All right, well, thank you.
I'm exporting
I'll
it
give
now.
it as a fan suggested product. So I think that's a great thing to put in there. But
Dan,
yeah.
I'm blind. I really wanted to give you art. I would like to give you music, but I don't know what's your type of music. So if you want me to make you a song or anything, I can make you a song and then send it to you. No problem.
Well, how about you make whatever song you want? I will be happy. I love it, and if I can, I'll use it as a background of one of my posts.
Oh, thanks. You really
Okay,
made
I'm
my
gonna. Okay, it's done. It's going right into your DMs.
Great. Well, no, I appreciate it because I mean anything that's Boffin for good. My whole point is getting people to contribute their time if they want, be a fan, have some fun, and if
All
we
right,
can raise,
it's yours now.
Thank you. If it raises some money for these causes, that would be a great mutual, win. So, cool.
Hey guys,
well,
I'm gonna call off.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave.
All right,
I'm
Bronson.
gonna
You
go.
have to go. But is there anything else? Anything else on the game that you can really need me on or help guide? Just let me know. I'm excited that you're moving forward.
I think one thing we'd like to know is, do you know if we're able to contact voice actor, not Buddy? We know the rule with him, but do you know if we're able to contact the company that Adam Rossi works for? Because me and Sam have been talking about it. He wants to get official voice actors in.
You can. I mean, they're just going to charge. It's their work for hire company.
Yeah, we
they're
also managed to
expensive.
get Scott Parkin in.
Oh yeah, I meant to tell you, we
Yeah,
had we met Scott the other day. I don't know if you saw the video on Kane's channel.
Yeah, he's a hilarious guy. I really
He's a
like
dude.
Scott, and yeah. So it's up to you guys. You do whatever you want. In terms of Adam Rossi, another great guy, but I'm actually going to do an interview with him as one of the voices of Bop It as well for what he
Hey,
did on
not.
Groove It. So, but he's a friend, and we've known him for years, and so whatever you want, just know that the only thing I ask is no one he says this is a project that Dan is endorsing and asking someone to do something for free.
No, we said that we just said that you've overseen it. We haven't said that this is official kid group licensing.
Yeah, just that you're clear that he knows what you're asking off the bat. Like if you say, we want to know what it would cost to hire you to do X, or we want to do this, don't just be really clear because it gets confusing sometimes if people get a reference that they know that it's just a reference for work for hire versus something that, but it's up to you, but I just didn't want that to be confusing to him. But I can talk to him as well. Just tell him if he hears from you, just to know.
Do you think you put the clock on Instagram or something?
Sure, I can probably.
It's whatever you want to. It's whatever you want to do. My art is your art.
Yeah. Well, got that. So I will. Let me decide if it fits something. Then I'd be happy to do that. I'll take a look.
All right, and
All right, guys, I'm gonna go.
Okay. See ya.
I do got one more thing, Mr. K. You said you would. You said we could send you more suggestions. Can I send you a one I thought of on Instagram?
Sure, you can send me anything I hear. I mean, I'll take a look here more often.
Right.
But I mean, Instagram I tend to be more responsive to because I just don't really go on this unless we schedule it. So if you want to send me a suggestion, as I said, the best thing we should do with suggestions, the thing you guys can get out of it most is if it looks like something fun, I will put it either on Instagram as a fan suggested idea, or I'll put it on the Bob It for Good store as sort of saying to people, let me know if you think we should make this. And if it ever gets made,
that's a good idea.
Right? If it gets made, it means you're going to help raise money for a good cause. So that's and all I say is, if as a reward for suggesting something, even if I've thought of it before, if it ever gets made, I will do my best to send you one.
And you supporting autism, and especially like blind and autism, I really appreciate that because I may not be blind, but I do have autism, and it means a lot.
Yeah, so do I.
Yes.
Well,
I
I really means a lot to me, and I said it wasn't the intention of why. Obviously, I've created these games, but it is really meaningful to me that it helps, and that's the point that I got into games because I love what happens when I play games with family and friends. I love that connection, and the fact that the stories I've heard of people from those communities saying that it was one of the biggest reasons or games that families could play with their children that were autistic or blind, or they could play with friends. I think it means so much to me. And so I'm really devoted to helping, making sure, like with the card game, I know I'm not sure how to make it work for blind, but I think I've actually thought through rules that could work if they were brailled, things like that. So always looking for suggestions.
Well, I have to say, Mr. Klitsner, that I am blind and autistic myself.
Yeah.
And I think I told you on Instagram, but your game made me meet my best friend. I got my Bop It XT in 2012, and a guy named Gabriel was really interested, and then I still talk to him like close to 10 years later.
Well,
so
I did send you one, by the way. That's why I asked us.
Oh gosh, I did.
World's smallest coming your way.
I mean,
I didn't respond to anyone, so that's why.
Wow. Such a shame I didn't see that.
I'm making you a little extra thing, Dan, on the stream.
Okay.
Right there.
So yeah, Dan, I'll have to go, but if you want to give me your DM, I would really like to send you some music that I make, and
absolutely.
So yeah, just write me a message, and I will be.
And really, if you guys, know of other programs, especially for getting things that you really respect for the blind community or autism that you think might benefit from getting Bop It or some help or something, I'm really looking for the right kind of places. And obviously, in your experience, if you found organizations that you really respect and think that would be helpful as well as this hopefully grows.
I myself, am not autistic or blind, but I do have a disability. And actually, your product actually helped me get through my parents' divorce, and that took a long time. It was a good distraction. It just took my mind off reality, and it really helped me. And that really is what inspired me to keep going with it, because that was the time I was really finishing middle school, going into high school, and it was really a way I could kind of get my mind off of things. And about a year ago, I decided to make it some artwork, and here it is. Would you like me to send you this as well? I don't know how you want to position this.
I don't know. Look, I'll put it up as a.
No. I changed it to something different.
Not the Bop It Inventor.
Oh, this, yeah. How would you like this position? I can move this up.
Just send it however you like. And like I said, I'll share it. If I can remember to look through here. I think I want to put more fan art up on my Bop It for Good page. So I'll just share it.
Well, you're gonna be seeing a lot out of me. I'll just say that right there.
Good. Well,
all right. I'll save this. I'll save this as it is. Hold on. I'll get this to you in 1 second.
Some days when I know some people can get mad at Bop It, but sometimes, if I'm having a hard time playing, it actually calms me down. It's like the exact opposite of sometimes it gets people worked up, and it's like, come on, I bopped it. It's like it actually is the exact opposite for me.
I think that's what it is that people are just too impatient.
Coming back from a stressful day and playing one of my favorite games is one of my favorite things to do, I'd say.
Well, what I would love, is I'm trying to put, I'm still working on the book, which is a little delayed as well.
Can't wait to see that.
But
that's going to be awesome.
Stories, I really could use, and I think the best place to do them is maybe it's better to email them to info@bopitforgood.com, because my wife, Alicia, will make sure we save things like that. But if you have a story of why, especially with a disability, what Bop It has helped you with, I'm just, it is not to brag about it. I just really want to have stories, as I want to really talk about why it's meaningful to me. And mostly about who, like your story, Nathan, about making a friend. Because eventually, you know, I want to try to get
by the way.
Hasbro. Oh, I want to try to get Hasbro. If I put enough of this together, you know, really, I'm trying to pitch them on supporting Bop It for Good because it's totally separate from them. And
Your
the
logo's
more
now in
stories,
your DMs.
you know, the more stories, the better, to kind of show them that we're connecting and how much good it can do to communities that are not just their normal consumers. So anything you have, you want to send, just email it to info@bopitforgood.com. And that's, you know, info. It isn't a machine, that's just me and my wife.
What I could suggest for you, actually, if you want to see how the community acts more like and like fan suggestions, I would recommend actually trying to come on to Discord every once a little more, because that's really where
This is
really
where we are.
This is where we are. This is where we all communicate. This is where all the stuff goes down. This is where the artwork goes, and this is where people come.
Sure.
Actually, a big thing about this community is it's actually the electronic game community, this specific one, and 2 other communities, including the Sonic the Hedgehog community and the Rockafire Explosion community.
And
Those are the big.
The Doctor Who community joined as well.
Yeah.
Those are the big people. Those are really the people that are on the server and talking. Even though it's just mostly me and Sam, they come here to obviously meet you and
I will
learn about it.
Well, I'll try to come on more often.
Cool.
It's just, there's just a lot going on, and I just there's always something. You know, I am still inventing lots of other things, and have schedules that are really always. I never have enough time. So you know, that's what I love most, is inventing new. I've got a contraption here next to me that I've got to get back to that I'm really excited about. It's a game kind of like cornhole, like has nothing to do with electronics, just this really cool game that I think will, you know, so I'm always working on something. So when I don't check in, it's just literally I'm just busy.
I was gonna say something. I completely forgot. And sorry if this is off topic, but
No problem.
I recently got my hands on a Furpinator, and I know you invented it. And I love that game. I love it. I beat game 2. Furpinator is like a Bop It, but it's very hilarious.
It's Super Impulse. It was us trying to do a spoof on Bop It, which was basically it uses burps and fart noises.
You want to get it out and show it off?
It got,
it's right here.
But what's funny about it is it's got this, when you squeeze it or press it, it opens
opens the
that
top.
remind you of a mouth or
It does.
And so it's really out there.
That honestly, it's gotten me thinking of something I saw actually on Google, which I'd rather not talk about. It's a very explicit Bop It thing, and I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. I think I've seen all of them, just so you know.
By the way, I don't know if you know, actually, John Adams made another Silly Sausage product.
They did. Silly Sausage Active.
Yeah, they did. It's a UK exclusive. I thought I'd let you know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I've talked to them about it. I actually have 2 games coming out with them that are really
John Adams?
Can you reveal more on them?
No, it'll be next year.
Nice.
Let's see. When are they going to show them? Probably, next, maybe they're in the fall. They'll be released, but I'm very excited. They'll be shown actually in the New York Toy Fair in February.
Nice.
So when they're publicly available, I'll share them. But really, a couple of games that I think are excellent, and I really love working with them. They're really great. I wish they hadn't done Silly Sausage, but
we all do. I think we all. I don't think
it plays like a tortoise. A little bit.
It does.
Oh, yeah, I've actually started making a joke. I don't know if I told you, there's this running joke ever since I rejoined the community about a year ago. I've made this joke where I put on a Silly Sausage impression and I can't play my own game. I don't even have hands.
Yeah.
The running joke is he doesn't have hands. He always announces it, and for some reason that gives the community their kicks.
It's a shame because obviously it's inferior software design and sound design and everything. To me, it's just not game design. It's just, and all it is a knockoff that isn't.
I think the Active is a complete rip. Is a knockoff of the 2016.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I know the inventing group that suggested it to them, and I'm pissed at them. So
have you contacted them?
Oh yeah, no, we're
Oh, yeah.
you know.
And you know
at
the
some point,
biggest.
They say you know, hey, it's like I said, you know, plagiarism is supposed to be a compliment, but it's like you know, it doesn't feel good when people do it, especially when they do. They're not that creative.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like you don't think I've seen thousands of spoofs of Bop It that are basically that. You know, it's not like they created, but I can't sell that to John Adams because it's too much like Bop It. You know, so
It's
hard to
violates
have
your
your
contract,
hands
right?
Yeah, I mean, I did the character Bop It's with Hasbro, so the point is, all you did was take the idea of a character Bop It and made a different theme. And you know, I think there's
the character Bop It's need to stop.
Well,
I'm sorry, they kind of need to stop.
What they need to be is they need to be
It's
more
different.
cleverly done. No,
They
they
need
need
to
to
be
be
done like how you said it, because now it's just a knockoff pop vinyl series. And speaking of which, there's you.
Yeah. What's that?
No, I pulled up your pop figure on screen.
What? I was kind of confused.
Oh, no, I made a pop figure of him, and I actually made one of Sam. Hold on, it's.
Oh wow.
Yeah, hold on. Look, I made one of Sam as well. I'm thinking about making a few
I was also going to say, Dan, I had a question. I don't know if you ever saw it. It was that I noticed recently Hasbro have been making 2 revisions of every game that isn't a Bop It. They've been making one that speaks and an international one that doesn't.
Yeah.
So I was wondering at the time when the new Bullseye Ball came out were they going to release it over here, but it doesn't look like they have.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I thought Bullseye Ball was a great game, and I actually glad
definitely.
they re-released it. It's an awesome game.
I like the new one a lot. I just wish I could get one, but shipping is very expensive.
Very expensive. What do you guys think of it? So if at some point I have to figure out a way if I'm going to start doing things that doesn't cost much. I might see if anyone wants to be, you know, the sender if I was able to get them somewhere in England.
Well, I think the top contenders for that would probably be Sam or Kane.
Yeah.
Or
I think
if you want,
so.
maybe
Kane is not in England. Kane doesn't live in England. So I'm just saying someone who lives there, because then I could send a box. If I know there's like 10 people that want to get buy something for Bop It the Good, I would rather the money go not to shipping but to the cause. So I might see if someone wants to take the box, and then I would literally send it with postage prepaid in the envelope inside, so you just drop it in the mail. But that sounds possible. Cool. I don't know. I'll look into it, but I would sort of be waiting until there was enough orders to then do it. But I might be able to find a fulfillment place that'll do it. But I'm just sort of brainstorming on. My biggest concern is that the shipping internationally costs more than the donation, so it's really rough.
You know, actually, I want to ask you about in the last interview you did with me and Sam. You said that the upcoming game that's a Simon is not a Simon nor is a Bop It. Can you tell us what the original vision of that was? Because you said like it wasn't meant to be like you guys had a fight and then like you just agreed to put the Simon brand on it.
You mean?
Oh, the Simon Sorry? Was it the Simon Sorry released last year?
No. You haven't. So you haven't.
I'm trying to remember.
You said Hasbro has an upcoming Simon game. And you said it was not originally a Simon.
Yeah, it got dropped.
It got dropped?
We
Yeah.
haven't been a Simon in so long. I so want to see this.
No, we're trying to rock it. It should come out with another company under a totally new name, which is what I prefer. It not be connected to Bop It or Simon. But yeah, it's unfortunately it got dropped. But this is just proving Hasbro's becoming unreliable.
Well, kind of.
It's just telling you this is the reality of the toy industry. When people wanted to ask about invention, I said, you know, it's actually easy and fun to invent things. The hard part is all the deal making, all of the development, all that, you know, is getting a product to market is very, very challenging. They're not bad. It's challenging. So a toy company has the same challenges you or I would have, only it's on such a scale that it is just what happens. You are not gonna, every product you license does not make it to market. So that's why it's so difficult.
Some great toys. Some great toys have been dropped because the presentation flopped.
or Hyperdash was a game I had before.
Love that game. Love that game. I
know
had 3 of them.
Logo and someone's profile picture, right? You have the.
Yeah, that's mine. That's mine.
That's yours.
Of course.
That was before Bop It. Showed it to every company. Even you'd think after succeeding with Bop It, you'd think companies would be like, "Well, what do you have next?" Showed it. Nobody thought it was good. Finally showed it 10 years later to Wild Planet, and it took off. So you have to be willing to not force ideas into people when it's the wrong time or the wrong company.
Hyperdash was a great game.
And CTR can do a hyperblast voice, can't you, CTR?
I'll do that in a minute. Actually, Dan, I had a game concept of my own. I've shown Kane and a few others, and I'm going to show this to Dan someday because I wanted to show this idea to Spin Master.
Well, you're welcome to try. You never know.
I make this literally out of like a flashlight in a marble. I call it the working name, I guess, is like Magnaball. Well, I guess I'll turn on my camera, but I'm not going to show my face.
Okay.
All right. So what happens here is I have a flashlight. Like this would be the unit. So what happens is you put the marble. There's 2 magnets here. The object of the game is to hit it on one side, get the marble to go over, and you want to do as many passes as you can before it falls off. Yeah, so like this, like something like that, but you don't do it here, and you can't like shake it. It would be like a cheap magnet.
Like a tiny pong or a Bop It bounce.
So it's sort of like that.
Yeah.
It's based on Balzerko mostly.
Balzerko.
Yes, I was going to say it reminds me a bit of Balzerko. Like I said, concepts. There's so much more, but beyond the concept is how then you present it, execute it, prototype it, show the vision. That's the art of selling inventions. Is sometimes you just get it right. Sometimes, like I said, it takes 10 years. So I'd say just keep going till you get it exactly the way you want it. And then just look out. There's lots of companies that have submission portals where you can just, if they're, all I can do is tell you whether they're a company that's trustworthy, and all the big ones are. They have very well managed sort of inventor portals. I wouldn't go with anyone who hasn't licensed a lot of ideas from inventors before. That's my only rule. So anyway, guys, I'm gonna go.
I got one more thing before you get out.
Okay. All right.
Last question. Okay. The support group you were talking about on TikTok, is there a way I can get involved, and how?
Well, I'll just share their they have an Instagram. If you just look up Amuse for Autism.
No, like the thing you put on TikTok, like that you did a duet with.
Wait a minute, which one? One recently?
Yeah.
The
Unibop one.
Oh, the Unibop. Wait a minute. You mean not the one I just did where the joke one?
Oh, that was a joke. On Instagram, you said something about like.
When I said I was focus group, you mean the focus group idea?
Yeah.
Oh, that's just saying that in a month. Yeah, of course. I that was sort of a funny joke. Was these, the idea that these guys think the idea is terrible is what that was supposed to be funny.
Right.
But what I was using it for was to say, I really will, at some point want to get focus group testing for the Unibop, and for sure I'll put the word out there. I was just saying anyone who wants to contact and say, sure, I'll be part of a focus group for Unibop, probably in a month or two, when hopefully I have enough prototypes to test.
I'd be happy to test.
Yeah, no, I'm sure people in this group would be good. So let's just keep in touch. When that time comes, you'll definitely know about it.
All right, sounds good.
Sounds like fun.
Well, I definitely better go. So great catching up with you.
It's been.
You're late. Thanks, Dan, for coming back. If you're around,
absolutely.
If you're around to just message later, I have other things I want to talk to you about in terms of.
Well, go ahead and message them, but I don't. Today my time is way done. I have to move on to some things, but I will promise to look more at any direct message or anything and get back to it when I can. And don't worry. I'm I'm fine. I just really needed a break, and I had to take care of some things. But I'll be
Yeah.
checking. So just do that, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
Cool.
All right,
It's
thank you, Dan.
been the experience of a
Nice
lifetime.
meeting you
Later.
as well,
All right, thank
Mike.
you, Dan. We'll
Thanks
talk
for
to you.
talking.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so
Really
much.
love that you got everyone together.
All right.
Thank you as well. Voice.
Absolutely.
All right. Bye.
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 Bye. Thanks.
Bye.